Hey folks, back at you again. It is Wednesday, right? Or is it Thursday? Now it's Thursday the 22nd. And yes, of October, and I am back because I received another gift of music from a VC member, Dereck Fisher. Thank you. Someone whose first name I share. Thank you so much, Dereck. And as I see something that I can share, but I don't at the moment, I will return the favor to folks who are kind to me. Dereck's been watching for a while. He's a younger person, I can tell. He's on Facebook. Young man into psychedelia, music from before his time. And it's nice. He seems to be pretty knowledgeable about psychedelia and has a lot of really good records. So he let me know that he had picked up some things for like $1, and hoped, that maybe he had found something that I like. And he did. And let me show you. We'll go from the worst to the best, okay? Because he sent me 3 albums and 2 CDs, and again, I insist on having the right to be honest in whatever I say. And people just need to grow up and deal with the fact that we have opinions, and just because we don't like something someone says doesn't mean we have to get all emotional and childish about it and have a fit like most people do these days. Okay? I'm saying that because I'm about to speak honestly, okay? And it's not to hurt anyone's feelings, but I'm just trying to say, if you need help in dealing with simple facts that people have opinions, and it's not doesn't mean that the world is ending. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so first off, Dereck made a couple of mixed CDs for me, or I've only listened to one, so I'm not sure. I have to put these in the computer because I'm pretty sure these are compilations. It's not the same artist on the disc. I just dropped one. I started playing one of them and didn't recognize anything, and that was good. I mean, first off, to just hear some old psych sounds that I don't hear because I'm interested in this music from my childhood and teens. So it's good to hear some more good old sounds from the 60s and 70s that I haven't heard. Like Elton John, when Elton John got rich, he said one of the main things he wanted to do was go record shopping. And, he amassed a huge collection. And if I were rich, that's what I'd do. I'd just go and buy all these old records that I grew up with that I never got to hear. Of the records, Dereck, that you sent me, I'll start with the one you sent me. 3 records. One of them is really terrible musically for my taste, and I really want to share this because people seem to be interested in my take on what I think is good. Christopher Morris Band. Now, I right away know why you sent this to me, and I know you found it for $1, but it has a lot of good musicians on it. It does. For example, the drummer in this band is Vince Colaiuta, who became best known, I think, most famous working with Sting, but he's also worked with Alan Holdsworth. I think he was with Frank Zappa also. Vinnie Colaiuta is the drummer on here. Milt Holland. Let me see if I got that right. Did I see that? Well, Al Cooper is on keyboards on here. Yeah, Milt Holland and Emil Richards play percussion. The Tower of Power horn section is on here. So whoever is doing this session, this Christopher Morris, he's trying to do it right. For me, the material is extremely mediocre. Just nameless, faceless crap music. I would imagine this guy probably got a girlfriend out of this music, maybe a couple of lays. I'm very serious. That seems to be what the focus of music like this is for, It's not for music, because this is not good music. Thank you for sending it to me, because I think I understand why you sent it, because of those good musicians. Hopefully they got paid for the sessions. They made an absolutely terrible album. The other 2 albums that you sent me are winners, okay? How's that, people? See, I start with the worst and go to the best. I'm very appreciative, but I'm honest, okay? We don't have enough honesty, you know. Okay, so second up, Hello People, Fusion. Hello People is a band that I've been familiar with since my childhood because I saw them on TV in their white face makeup, like the mime stuff that they do. Which, of course, because it's visually interesting, caught my attention. The thing I did notice, though, as a kid, was that the music was like weird, but not in a way that attracts me. This is their second album. And thankfully, this has a couple of tracks that I can live with. It's a strange mixture of pop and rock and roll and other elements. And the foundation, or rather the base of pop that they're coming from, is very traditional in a way that just does not interest me. So this is pretty good. Like I said, there's a couple of progressive sounding tracks on here that save the album. Overall, the Hello People, I still don't understand where they were coming from. What, you know, I know that Todd Rundgren liked them a lot, worked with them. I kept one of the albums that Todd produced by them, and they do some Todd songs. But even the way that they do the Todd songs makes me wonder, why do they think this is good? Because I don't. I don't think it's good. Now, the last album that you sent me is one that I've been looking for. You didn't know it, so you have unwittingly sent me something I really wanted, Dereck, and you found it for $1. Thank you. Morton Subotnik's Sidewinder. One of the early voices in the use of synthesizers, making records and composing. Morton Subotnik. Silver Apples of the Moon is the most famous work. Let me see. I know I have it. If I can pull it quickly, I will. Just to show and talk. Some pair. It's here. And sugar cubes. Here we go. So thank you, Dereck, so much for adding to my Morton Subotnik Connect collection. I've listened to this already, and it's wonderful. You know, early days of synthesizers, 60s and 70s is when this was made. And so him getting the sound that he gets and moving it through its permutations, it does remind one of a sidewinding snake. Really good. And on quad, I don't have a quad system, but I love that, the fact that it's quad. But I can add that to my collection. I have Morton Subotnik's Silver Apples of the Moon, and this is a groundbreaking piece of work. I also have a misprint where the back cover is upside down. I've had this since the 70s. And I also have another great album by Subotnik, Until Spring. This is excellent. Thank you very much, Dereck, for the music. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it very much. I'd like to share that thank you, folks, for a resurgence in interest in my music. Thank you. I'm sending one off this morning to a new subscriber listener in Swindon, England. And that, please, I love that, because in order to get my record overseas, you have to pay more to get the record than you do for the record. So this fella has had to pay over $30 just to get this album. Thank you. It is worth it. But thank you for thinking so and buying it. It means so much to me. I'll ramble a little bit before I head out. I got to go to the post office and mail that, plus I have some work, my part-time job. Some other records sitting out. Oh, well, actually, I have something else to show, new to my collection. So I get a call yesterday from Jesse Cundiff, who is another VC member. Doesn't make videos very often, but he's very active online, and he owns a small record shop here in Omaha that I frequent. And He called me because he'd recently bought a collection, and there was a couple of cool things in it, which is where I got that Coliseum that I showed last week. One of the cool records in there that he had kept at first, he said, well, I really need the money, so if you want this, I'm taking it down to the shop. Omnibus, 1970 on United Artists. There are no names in this band, but this is an excellent end of the 60s psychedelic album. Interestingly, Jesse and someone else who, once I posted this on Facebook, another BC member who ends up has a copy of this, they both compare this to the Doors. Now I don't. I see what they're saying, but they don't sound that much like the Doors to me. I've been trying to wrestle in my mind, who, if anyone, who do they sound like? And I understand the reference to the Doors. If they don't sound like the Doors, that's a reference to that 60s sound. They have a prominent organ in the sound like the Doors, but not like Ray Manzarek's playing. So I think it's part of it. It's hard to say. I think this is very good. Very good. Even to the point where it got me to listening to the lyrics. It's like, what are they talking about? For a moment I thought maybe it was slightly religious, but no, it's a mixture of the hippie thing, which was, what is the meaning of life? Being cosmic a little bit, being questioning, but also mixing that up with earthiness of relationships and needing to find, sex partners, Real happy to add this to my collection, Omnibus. Thank you, Jesse, for letting this go. I wish I could afford to buy all these old psychedelic and neo-psychedelic and progressive rock albums that were made in the 60s and 70s. I'd love still to own them all, just to spend the time to sit here in this room and just leisurely look at the covers and listen to what do these people do. It was a special time. Before I go, I'll show a few more records. If something else popped up in my mind, I will speak to it. So many things pop in and out of my head, that I want to share, that I want to say, and I just forget them. You know how it is. I'm glad that you folks. I'm glad that folks stick with me, even though I don't make the effort to consistently watch your videos. I think that's a prerequisite for a lot of people, and feeling like you're friends and connected, is that there must be this constant back and forth and giving and taking, and I understand that, but I'm just the way I am, and it's not a sign of not being a friend. It's just my way. Good example is a good friend of mine just moved back to Omaha, Frank. One of my favorite people to go to concerts with. So now that he's back, and I just saw them, he's back, we've gotten together twice. But it'll go back to the way it was, which is when Frank and his wife lived in town, they just lived blocks away, but I wouldn't see them for months. I know they're there. It's just the way I am, When we see each other, it's great, but I don't have a need to, well, I better call somebody, I better call so-and-so now. Well, I wonder what so-and-so is doing. I'm just not like that, but I just thought I'd explain that it doesn't mean that you're not my friends, because I'm not always coming over and seeing how you're doing. It's just the way I am. Asperger's, retarded, something, I don't know. I don't care if someone wants to make fun of me thinking, ooh, he might be kind of a retard or autistic. So what? I'm happy to be me. Here's some other records sitting out that I played. Judas Jump, Scorch. So glad I kept this. Kind of a mixture of hard rock and just straight rock and roll on this album. 1972 is when it was made. There was the possibility that this band could have jumped into being like a new supergroup. Good-looking people. These guys all have background. Some of the guys were in the Alan Bound. Alan Bound is on here. No, am I right? No, Alan Jones. Andrew Bound, I'm thinking. No, some of these members were in The Herd, Status Quo, Amen Corner, bands that, had other famous people come out of them. And this is very good. I mean, a lot of variety on here. From straight rocking to some bluesy stuff to power ballads, before the idea of a power ballad was created. If any of those terms relate to the type of stuff you like and you've never heard this, I recommend this album, actually. This is really good. Judas Jump, Scorch. Pulled this, I'm going to play it today. I love folk music, I do, and sometimes I get in the mood and it's all I want to hear. And one of the great English folk rock bands of all time is Fairport Convention. And this is their album, Unhalf Bricking. Cover's slightly beat, but it's an old pink-rimmed island, and I like record label designs. Island has had some really wonderful record label designs. This is one of them. The pink rim, then the pink island. I've only got one on the actual pink island label. I'd love to get some pink island pressings. That's early island records that are on the completely pink label. This is a great album. Along those lines, there was talk about Sandy Denny online last night, so I have this 4 LP box set. Who knows where the time goes? Played some of this. What a voice! Once you hear her, you never forget it. And everyone's heard her voice. She is the female voice on Led Zeppelin's Battle of Evermore, which, honestly, from the very first time I heard that, when I first heard Led Zeppelin 4, the thing that stood out to me that was the best thing about the album was Sandy Denny. Even more than Stairway to Heaven. Sandy Denny, what a voice. Thinking of Roger Coleman down in Tennessee. He just got back from Vegas doing a bunch of shopping down there, and he found a UK copy of this Premiata Forneria Marconi album. The World Became the World is the English title. This is the Italian version, L'Isola di Niente. And this is a second pressing because the first pressing in Italy has a die-cut cover. This one doesn't. Roger found a UK die-cut cover. I'm jealous. This is a great album. Wonderful, I guess you could call it symphonic prog. I don't know if it's just fantastic music. The band is still going. All original members. Well, mostly original members. Here's an album that I found used years ago and took a chance on. I guess they call it down tempo. I really dislike genre names. This is just good groove. Sidewinder, Resolutions. Now the reason why I'm complaining about the genres is that I think that people who look at genres sometimes miss out on good music. They'll see a word and dismiss, not even listen. This is a good example, and I'm going to go, because what became popular through hip-hop and stuff was looking for beats and finding old funky beats and breaks, which has never been an issue for me. That has shit to do with why I collect. Never has been. But since that emerged, I've paid more attention to that aspect of records. Here's a record that people that are looking for beats. There's a bunch of them on here, but it's not that old. But this is a really groovy. I wish I could play it for you. Someone had left me where you can put the disclaimer, and I've done that in the past, but they block my shit in countries, and so just fuck it. I'm not going to play anything, but look this up if you like funk, if you like groovy music that has, like sax playing, Fender Rhodes, like you're in the club and you're cool. I don't know what people are thinking. This is just good. Notice how there's sometimes a little bit of, I don't know if it's irritation, but I get frustrated with how in order to get something to the largest number of people, you have to dumb it down so much. And that just gets on my nerves, how so much of stuff has to be dumbed down and really good stuff ends up kind of languishing in the background. I'm saying that about this album. This is really good. And it's considered to be nothing. You can find a copy of this for like $1 or $2 online. I played this album last night, and I played one side twice because every cut, it has a really nice groove. Sidewinder. Notice how I went off about that? It's because it's so damn good. You know, as a collector, I am interested in what things have of value, what value records have. That's interesting to me, but that's not why I collect. I collect for the music, I really do. With that in mind, here's a record that I bought based on who was playing on it, and when I first played it, when I got it home, I was really disappointed. It took me a while. Sonny Sharrock and Peter Brötzmann, Fragment. These are two giants of improvisation. Sharrock on guitar and Brötzmann on saxophone. Numbered, only 1,000 of these were made. This is an audience recording made at some little joint in New York. So there's points when the audience is as loud as the band. And what we have here is it's improv, which means you take what happens. And for several minutes of this album, nothing happens. It's like, it almost sounds like Sharrock is just tuning his guitar, which is partially what's happening, but it's also him exploring tones or whatever is in his head at that moment. This goes on for minutes and nothing happens. And then finally Brötzmann, as a musician, I heard it too. I hear it when finally, okay, here we go, and then here comes Brötzmann, and then it takes off. So when I first bought this, I was so disappointed in how long it was taking the first track to do anything that, you know, I never got to the next part. So I'm glad that I listened to this in depth yesterday. Fantastic, intense playing. With improvisation, there is no guarantee. And sometimes you can fall flat on your face. That's why it's so thrilling. Stereolab. This is a compilation of stuff. Refried Ectoplasm, Switched On, Volume 2. I just love Stereolab. They have elements of everything from Beach Boys' Pet Sounds to Martin Denny and Krautrock. I just love this band, Stereolab. Love them. This is on, I'll show it just, you know, sometimes it's of interest to people. This is on kind of a milky vinyl. Seen Stereolab a couple times and got to meet them. Really nice people, eggheads about music. I had a great conversation about Noy and Faust with Letitia Sager, the singer of the band, the main lady. Here's another one that I pulled that I don't play often, thinking, well, I keep this, but I don't really like it, but that's because it's been so long since I played it. I played most of this yesterday, and it was just incredible. You by the Incredible String Band. Another group of early, what I'd call pioneers of the mixing of folk music and other elements of world music and a psychedelic sensibility. Just like the cover, just like these images, the music sounds like that. It's like you've gone back in time, but not. Very interesting stuff. I see I'm over 20 minutes. I didn't know that I would be talking this much. And so I'll just kind of leave it there. I do want to say that I do appreciate getting the feedback from folks who hear things in my videos that resonate with them. I do want to resonate, and I do want to say things that, you know, make sense, and that things that help me to remain sane. You know, that is the idea, is to try to somehow, you know, do something that might be helpful. You know, the fact that I exist makes me part of the problem, so let me consciously try to do something to be part of the solution as well. That's the whole idea of making the comments that I do. So on that note, I think the last thing I'll say is that it's unfortunate when trying to share information and enlightenment or encouragement, it's frustrating that stupidity does not recognize stupidity, and which is why it's such a long slog uphill. Intelligence can awaken to the fact of its ignorance. Ignorance cannot. Ignorance and stupidity can really only emerge out of progress, of the gaining of information and knowledge that dispels the darkness of the stupidity and the ignorance. So it's just one of those things that's frustrating about the world right now, where you see a lot of insane behavior going on and a lot of insane talk going on, and how it goes on because those that are doing the talking have no awareness of their own ignorance.